let's go to the decision with the tournament, but we'll start backwards since we'll go backwards on it since the announcement came out that this will be your last year calling the tournament, the Final Four. And it was funny because immediately it was, when would you give up the NFL?
I never heard that.
Oh, no. The speculation started about, does this mean you'd give up the NFL in a couple of years? I assume by that response, you haven't even thought about giving up.
No, I haven't heard one person ask me that. I didn't even realize there was even any chatter about it. No, I'm not even close to that. I just signed a very long-term contract. And in that contract, I basically spelled out exactly what's happening right now. And I'll be doing the NFL for a long, long time with Tony. So I hadn't heard that.
I didn't even bring up the golf because I know you'll never give that up.
Well, yet everything eventually comes to an end, as they say. And I think that the NFL and golf will probably run a pretty parallel track, I hope.
Would it be a situation?
I'm doing both for a long time. Let me just say this. Because I did have some people that were friends of mine that weren't in the business who were like, oh, man, I hate to see you retire. I said, man, I'm not retiring. I'm basically falling back into a schedule that's still right up there with about as busy as maybe anybody else is. And it's the old Summerall schedule, who was a dear friend and mentor to me, that Pat did the lead NFL game, and he anchored the golf, and he did it a long time, and he was brilliant.
And the tennis.
And he did do
the US Open.
And I did the tennis for 9 years with him. Yeah. But I loved it that Pat, that was his universe, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's been a decision that honestly, Jimmy, has been a long time in the making, and I could have made this decision years ago, but I just love it so much. And ultimately, my desire to be with my children outweighed my love of being involved in 15 games in 23 days, every one of which is a joy to broadcast.
Let me just ask you this real quick. I'm just curious in terms of like the workload and the scheduling. Let's say hypothetically 10 years from now, you wanted to give up one of the other sports. Would it be a no-brainer to give up the NFL because that's more of a grind than the golf? Or is the golf just as much as a grind as the NFL? Like if you wanted to get down to one sport, or is it you love golf so much you wouldn't give that up? What would? Well,
I don't foresee either one of those even being something we'll discuss for a long, long time. But they're not a grind. It's something that you love doing. The process of preparing for them is something I absolutely dearly love.
Yeah.
Now, the NFL is you got a week to get ready for a game, and then you have your meetings, and you there's so much information that CBS rounds up for you that it's borderline almost too much, to be honest. They've got so many sources that are coming in with different data points and background and anecdotal stuff. I want it, but it's a lot. The golf is it's more of just classical storytelling, to be honest. You kind of really call it with mainly just what's in your head and in your heart. You're not preparing boards like I do for football. This is my Eagles board from the other day. I've got this thing blurred. I guess you can't see it, but I work on these things all week long. Golf, I don't. That doesn't mean I don't talk to players and get latest current information, background. But the one thing about the golf, it is a two-day commitment, and it's depending on the week, it's anywhere from 6 to 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. I used to get asked a lot, well, how come you don't do regular season college basketball like you used to? Well, things kind of changed. I became the lead NFL play-by-play guy, which took me to the end of January. So that took out those weeks. Right. And then there's this thing called the West Coast Golf Swing, where we have events in Phoenix, LA, San Diego, and Pebble Beach. Well, then why don't you do the basketball instead of one of those? Well, we actually have extended hours on those West Coast events. Those also happen to be like the highest rated golf events of the year because the weather's bad for a lot of the country and people are living vicariously through these beautiful blimp shots from Pebble Beach and Torrey Pines along the coastline. You're on for 8 hours doing a 2-point something rating versus doing 1 2-hour basketball game that's doing a 1. I mean, I'm not trying to minimize it, but college basketball is all over the place and a lot of different outlets. You don't do monster regular season ratings. So it's not that I'm slacking or I'm not working. In fact, I go through a stretch where, I work like 32 out of 34 consecutive weeks on the road. And that includes going through 21 weeks in the NFL and West Coast Golf, and then the NCAA tournament, the Masters, Hilton Head, and all that. Next thing you know, you basically been on a road warrior for like 60% of the year, with more to come with golf. And I tell you what it will do, just again, for my own personal calendar, I will have a nice block of time from the end of football into the West Coast Golf. I'll do that. And then going into the Masters, I'll have a stretch of about 7 weeks off. And I'm going to miss the heck out of it. But I've done it a long time.
Yeah.
I feel really good about someone else getting the chance to do it, too. I'm very happy for Ian to have the chance to do it. He's a basketball guy all year long. I'm not. And by the way, we have other incredible, as you know, play-by-play guys. Incredible.
Yeah.
Kevin Harlan, Brian Anderson. I don't even need to go down that road, start naming all these guys I respect so much. But, it's time someone else get a chance to do it, enjoy it, and love it, and nurture it.
Was it a difficult decision? Did you agonize over it, or you realize this is the time and it wasn't that difficult to give it up?
I was going to give it up in 21. And I talked to Sean and David, Sean McManus, David Burson, about it for several years. And I would just say, hey, I'm thinking about it. Will you let us know? You can do it as long as you want. And I thought about 21 and Indianapolis, because I like the symmetry of my first Final Four call was in Indy in 91. That was the famous Duke UNLV semifinal, with Duke beating Kansas in the championship. Grant Hill was a freshman. And I like the symmetry of not only starting in Indy, but ending in Indy, sitting next to Grant Hill, who won a championship in Indy, and now is my partner, with Raft as well. And but COVID came around. And that fun, that was not a lot of fun. It was a monumental achievement by the NCAA and CBS and Turner to pull off this one city championship event with all the games played at different venues in Indy. You never saw anyone. You never left a room. I was there for 27 days and nights, and all my food delivered to the door. Only time I got out was to go do a game. But it just didn't feel like the right time to walk away from it. Plus, I had Houston looming. I had Houston 23. And I want to say this so that nobody from Turner takes this the wrong way. I've loved our partnership with Turner. Great guys. And, I've done the Capital One spots with Charles for years now. We'll continue to do that this coming year and hopefully beyond. And Ernie and everybody. But I wanted to call my last basketball game on CBS. We would still call them on Turner, as you know, but it's CBS Turner. We alternate years. I just thought I'm going to pick a CBS year to do it. So if it wasn't going to be Indy in 21, the next time I would consider it was going to be Houston in 23. And Houston was the gateway city for my career. Right. It's just the perfect place to do it. It's the perfect time. Done it a long time. And I will miss the heck out of it. But you know what? I also love being home for my kids and having their spring break falls in March. I miss it every year. Now I get to be with them. So it's, there's a trade-off.
Was it difficult to do the tournament after not doing regular season games and just coming in for those 2 weeks? No,
not a bit, because I'm watching it all season long because I love it. Right. But I wasn't the only announcer who parachuted in, as people would call it, to come in and do the playoffs in other sports. And you know who they are, so I'm not going to make it sound like anybody's doing anything wrong. It did not make it difficult. I would usually do a regular season game right around the 1st of March. And then I'd go into the Big Ten tournament. And I do 2 games on Saturday, the championship game on Sunday. And that begins quite a stretch. I count it from that point until the championship. I do 15 games in 23 days, from the semifinals of the Big Ten, 3 games that weekend, 6 the next week, then 3 the regional week, and 3 the Final Four. But Jimmy, when I got the nod to go call the games, I had filled in for Brent several times during the years. I was the host. I was the studio guy. I was the Greg Gumbel, Ernie Johnson role 5 times at the Final Four. But when I got the nod to go call the games with Billy Packer, I could never imagine that I would have 32 years of calling the championship, because I was taking over for Brett, who called 6, and he tied the record of Dick Enberg, who had called 6. So it's gone from those two having 6 each to 32. And that's a long, long time. And like I said, it's somebody else's turn to do it. And that happens to be Ian. I have great regard for him on a professional level and very much so on a personal level. And I'm thrilled for him. He deserves it. He'll be great and he'll take it to all new heights.